Welcome to the Well at Work podcast from the University of Kentucky Center on Trauma in Children. This podcast is brought to you by a grant from SAMHSA. On this episode, Emily Smith explains how caregivers can use co-regulation to develop healthy coping skills as they learn to regulate their emotions.
Hello, I'm Emily Smith with the UK Center on Trauma in Children. The COVID pandemic has been challenging for many of us, children included. For young children who may have been born or lived most of their lives during the pandemic, the effects of this early life stress have not yet been determined. Research does indicate, however, that the impact of these early life stresses, often called adverse childhood experiences, can be buffered through supportive relationships that help children develop social and emotional skills that build resilience. Co-regulation is one of those skills. Co-regulation can help children manage their emotional response to stressors as they learn how to regulate their emotions and thoughts through support and coaching. Caregivers offer warmth and nurturing, anticipating the needs of young children who may not yet have the language to explain what they need, teaching and modeling emotional regulation. Through these responsive interactions that offer children comfort when they are distressed, babies and toddlers can feel safe enough to develop the skills needed to calm and soothe themselves. Over time, a child learns the language to explain what they are feeling and the coping strategies that help them to regulate their emotions. This is called self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to control emotions, thoughts, and actions, and it allows us to respond to stressors rather than to react to them. For young children, that can mean calming themselves to avoid a meltdown or not giving up when solving a tough problem. Through co-regulation, young children can build these skills in a calm, safe environment. In this podcast, I'll share some ways that caregivers can use co-regulation to help young children cope with stress and develop the skills needed to self-regulate. A note about the term caregivers. The term often means parent or guardian, but when I share strategies to use co-regulation in this episode, I mean any adult that provides care to children. Daycare providers, teachers, any caring non-custodial adult. And co-regulation is not just for young children. As children grow and develop, they may need more or less support to develop the skills needed to self-regulate. Caregivers with children who have developmental differences may also find co-regulation helpful in their relationship with the child, helping both to regulate emotions during stressful times. In their book, The Whole Brain Child, Tina Payne Bryson and Dan Siegel suggest that during the early stages of brain development, the brain is triggered to make rapid decisions about things happening around them, often relying on the more emotional right brain to respond rather than the more logical left brain. Co-regulation in these early stages can help them balance their emotional response, learning to use their whole brain to control their reactions. When adults use co-regulation to help young children develop self-regulation, they can help them to learn to manage the challenges that come from life. Tasks like waiting for a favorite toy, self-soothing, and moving smoothly from one activity to another. Over time, children can self-regulate, build resilience, and more easily interact with others. That's what Ava's parents have been learning to do with her. Like many kids who were born during the COVID pandemic, Ava wasn't around people outside of her family for the first years of life. Her parents left her home when running errands. She didn't attend daycare, and she rarely saw other children. Because she spent all of her time with family, Ava's first few months at daycare were really hard for her. She would cling to whichever parent dropped her off and cry inconsolably, something that was very unusual for her. She showed other signs of stress too, suddenly having trouble falling asleep and having frequent tantrums, which she didn't have before. At her most recent well baby visit, Ava's parents talked with a social worker at the pediatrician's office who shared with them about co-regulation and offered some strategies to help Ava learn to self-regulate. Tip 1. Show you care. Caregivers who build a warm and responsive relationship with a child are better able to offer support during stressful times. Communicate that you care through verbal and nonverbal cues, offering hugs or just staying close during times of stress. When a meltdown is imminent, acknowledge the emotions. Look the child in the eye and get close. Ask open-ended questions. Show empathy, and show that you are listening and trying to understand how you can help. This helps to make kids understand that you can handle their big feelings and that you trust that they can handle their big feelings too. Give them the chance to practice these feelings, the language to explain it, and the space to build resilience to overcome. By being consistent and nurturing, you show that they can trust you will be there to help. It also lets them know that relationships with others should be built on that trust. Tip 2. Provide structure. A loving space is physically and emotionally safe. Build the structure and boundaries that set limits that young children do not yet know they need. Routines and schedules offer children both security and a buffer against stress. Be as consistent as possible about nap times, bedtimes, and meal times. Be kind and clear about what behaviors are acceptable. Keep your voice and tone calm when redirecting behavior. Set age and stage appropriate consequences for negative behavior that help children understand the effect of their actions. Tip 3. Promote critical thinking. Critical thinking skills allow us to compare and contrast things, to solve problems, and to understand and explain the world around us. As they grow, curious babies and toddlers who explore a safe environment develop needed skills and become more independent. Offering young children a safe environment where they can play freely, ask open-ended questions, and role play can help them to develop critical thinking skills. You can help them develop these skills by talking with them as they play, explaining their actions. You can also read together, asking them questions and engaging with them throughout their time together. Tip 4. Model self-regulation. Stress is a daily thing, and the way a caregiver reacts or responds sets a tone for young children. Stress is contagious. When you are stressed, those around you are likely to pick up on that. Teaching children how to self-regulate means you have to do it too. Give yourself a moment to take a breath or two to calm down before you help your child calm themselves during a tantrum. For babies and toddlers who look to you for direction as they develop and grow, modeling healthy stress management and emotional regulation in early life can have lasting positive results. Teaching young children self-regulation of emotions and thoughts begins with adults offering support as they learn and grow. This is called co-regulation. Co-regulation can help children manage their emotional responses to stressors, develop important social and emotional skills, and enable them to be more resilient. These skills are needed throughout life, and they can help you to stay well at home.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Follow the link in the video description for more resources on our Well at Work website. And of course, stay tuned for more episodes on topics that will keep you well at work, home, and school.